And so
Mm.
when we moved here, though, it was not the case, right? And I think that's a lot of diasporans face that, right? Your money's long in Ghana, but your money's not long in America by any far, right? So
Well, hello, StemToRoots. This is Mike Demba. This is where we plan on talking our way into a plan. Today, somebody I've been waiting for since day one of this podcast is Nana, who I always wanted here, but today I have him. You guys will find out why. Nana, tell my people who you are, where you're from, what you do, whatever you're willing to share right now, and we will unravel Nana as we go.
Thank you, Mike. Man, it's a pleasure to be here. It's actually a blessing to be here on Mike's show. He's been doing great. I've been actively following along, and I'm very happy to be here today. So as Mike mentioned, my name Nana kind of gives it away. I'm from Ghana.
Yes.
My name is Nana Osei Bonsu. And I'm from Ghana, originally born and raised there. Moved to the States when I was about 11. Currently, I work in education technology. So I'm pretty much I'm kind of in terms of occupation. So I'm pretty much like a senior level marketing business development manager. And so the job my full-time job is working with a company that's called PSI. We do education technology testing in the international education sector. And yeah, that is me. And yeah, I'm originally from Worcester, Massachusetts, but living in Virginia now. So moved away from the Northeast and now located in Virginia.
Virginia. Let's go back to the education. You say education technology. You've
Correct.
been in the education sector for a while. Tell me
Yes.
about that. How has your career been like?
Yeah, Mike, it's actually quite funny because I remember maybe in like sometime in college. Actually, let me take a step back. So when I was growing up, my dad kind of wanted me to get into engineering. Architecture was really the place I was at. So when I went to high school, I actually went to vocational high school in Worcester. And a lot of people don't know this. Yeah, so I went to vocational high school where every other week, so 1 week you're taking academic courses, the other week you're taking vocational courses. And so I chose CAD, which is architecture, essentially, architecture or design. So that's what I studied in all through high school. I was kind of on schedule to become like an architect, then go on to like engineering and so forth in the civil space. And then what was this? Probably sophomore year of college. Science was like, no, buddy, you're not gonna go into engineering. I took like a physics class. Yeah, quickly got a D in that class, and I was like, nah, that's not for me. But naturally, I loved marketing. I loved business. My dad was always doing business, so I always loved doing stuff with him. And so that was kind of really where I loved. And so I transitioned into finance and marketing. And that's what I graduated with. So when I graduated, I was on schedule I graduated with a business degree in finance and marketing. And then I was on schedule to kind of like work in the investment sector. And so working in investments, I did that for a year. And it became quickly boring for me. It was kind of like you're in the office. Yes, that was where I learned, like, I'm not an office guy. I'm not a guy that just sits in the office all day, doesn't talk to, like, I talk to people, but it's like very wealthy people that I can't even relate with because they have so much more money than I do. And I'm trying to like give them or help them navigate their finances. And so I quickly like left that. And then I went to work at Enterprise Rent-A-Car through like they had like a management training program where you learn about business. You learn about running your own branch. And while I was there is when I met my old boss. And she came to Rent-A-Car. We were just kind of chatting. And that job, again, was one of those, it wasn't in the office, right? You're kind of outside talking to people. And so she was like, oh, you're really good with people. I'm like, yeah, I love people. I like working with people, and I was like, so what do you do? And she goes, oh, I work in international education. I was like, wait, international education? What's that?
What is
And
that?
so that was the question I asked. I was like, wait, what's that? And she's like, well, I just came from, I think she had come from like Myanmar, which is Burma at the time.
Yes, yeah,
A country in Asia. She went to Indonesia, Vietnam. And I was like, wait, you got to do that while in education? And she's like, yeah, you work in a place where you recruit international students to come to the US. And I was like, oh, really? So that sparked a lot of ideas in my head. And I was like, you know what? Like my background in marketing, being involved in school, because I was heavily involved in university life. That kind of was like, oh, you know what? Why don't you actually try to blend your marketing background with that? But at the time, there was no roles available. So I had to go into a student service role, which was more of like the counseling, working with students for health, being, and so forth.
Yes.
So that's kind of like where that's kind of like really the birthplace of like me in education, because when I was in college, I actually was like, oh, you know what? I wish I could work in the marketing business side of like education, but I had no idea what that actually meant. A lot of people thought it was like becoming like a resident director or like working in student services. And that stuff was kind of like, it just got quickly boring to me. I could do it, but it was just kind of like, boy, I needed something more. I could be out working with people and so forth. And so that's really kind of like where the idea came. And I started looking into it. And they hired me on as a student service advisor, where I would work.
Who is they?
So the university. So actually, let me take a step back. I think I have to take a lot of step back because it's so involved. So you know, when and this is something I even when I interview for jobs, I have to explain. People don't know that education itself is a business. So when you're going to your universities, people don't understand that, you know, as for a university to run, they need numbers, right? They need students, because students are the ones making the payments. When it comes to international education, for some state schools, any money that comes from an international student, so Mike, you're an international student, any money that comes from you actually retains at the university. So all that money, the university is able to use it for their projects. Whereas for state students, any money that comes from like a state student, some of it goes back to the state. And some of it actually stays, you know. So the university has kind of a bigger incentive to have more international students, so they could do more things, right? They could offset some of their costs. Correct.
That's good to know.
Exactly. A lot of people don't. And that's where, you know, it's one of those things. It's like information. When you're not privy to some of this information, you don't know some of these career tracks.
Yes.
And we'll talk a little bit more later on how I kind of use that to my advantage a little bit. But
yes.
But it's something that people don't know. So once I learned that, oh, well, international education, you can work in education, you can, you know, recruit students. It's a job. It's somebody's job to do all of that. And I was like, oh, okay, well, then this is where I want to be. This is kind of like, this is where it's going to get me outside of the office. I still get to work in education. I like working with students. And it's, you know, helping families is another big part of it. And then a really key part of all of this, Mike, is one thing that you talk about is roots, right? Your stem to your roots. I hadn't been home since I came to America. And so I was always trying to find a way to figure out, how do I travel back home and work at the same time, right? And not having to do it, not have it come out of my own pocket. You know, how do I find a way to make sure that, you know, because my dad is home, I have friends and family, all of that. How do I make sure that I can go back to Ghana and you know, have somebody else pay for it and still be part of my day job? And so, I don't want to go too long into that, but that's kind of like where it led up. So as I was,
we will get there.
Yeah,
we will get there. We will get there. So you've touched on a lot of things that interest me, right? You know, you graduated college, you studied finance and marketing. You got into that field and you went deep into the traditional finance and maybe combined with marketing kind of career that told you from just how long did you work in that job before you started knowing it's not you?
So I did it while in college and then a year outside of college. So about almost 2 years.
Almost 2 years. So to figure out at a young age, to figure out you have a quote unquote good job, good corporate job, and actually know that this is not for me. You know how many people are stuck in jobs that are not for them, like their entire career, because they feel like they're stuck with what they studied. Here you are with your finance background. You ended up doing something you love out of, hey, somebody recognized that I'm good with people, and I know I'm good with people. I like people, and I don't want to be confined in a cubicle or office space. You know, I want to be free and make money. Hence, you know, being able to even figure out how to visit Ghana and get paid to visit Ghana.
Exactly. Exactly.
I can't wait to touch on that. You know, so when I met you, that was what you were doing. You were kind of like recruiting for the university and stuff.
Yep. So when we met, so essentially it's called. I was a director of marketing and recruitment. Is the title. Marketing, recruitment, business development. Is the title. So. Excuse me. So I did that at UMass. UMass, when I started, I was the second employee of that program. It had just come to UMass.
So it was new.
At the time. Wow. It was brand new in the country. It's called Pathway Programs, and so we worked directly with the university, but not as a university employee because it was an outside company. And so when I started, it's called Navitas, and so working with them, I actively became like the Africa representative for UMass system. So a lot of students I worked with, I mean, to this day, I'm friends with a lot of people where even I would recruit them from like Nigeria, Ghana, all over the place. And then be able to then, you know, when they come to the university, still help them support along the way. But I was at UMass for 7 years. And then I went to George Mason after that for just under 4 years. Doing the same kind of work, which was marketing.
Doing the same kind of thing. So for about 11 years doing the same kind of thing.
Exactly.
So much to touch on. I took notes so I won't miss these points that I was thinking about.
Yeah.
I want the viewers to know now a little bit more. So let's go way back. Way back.
Yeah.
Like you said, as soon as you said Nana, I think 90% of Africans know. Okay, Nana has to be Ghanaian. You're from Ghana. Were you born there? How did you end up in the US? Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I was born in Ghana. I was born in Ashtown, actually, Ashtown, Ghana, which is at the time was kind of like I wouldn't say not a very wealthy area, right? But it was, excuse me, nice place in Ghana. And my dad was quite wealthy. I think I have to say that. A lot of people don't know, but my dad at the time was quite wealthy. He was very active in business. He was doing a lot in pharmaceutical sales, and he did a bunch of other businesses. So he was like, what you would say a businessman in Africa, right?
Yeah, businessman. Business.
And so, but we didn't live with my dad until I didn't live with my dad. So my mom lived in Ashtown with her family, and I think at the age of 5 is when we first moved in with where my dad was living, and we all kind of lived in the same space. But my dad and my parents traveled quite a bit. So my mom and my younger brother lived in the UK for a good 5 years. I joined them for about 2 years, and then my dad moved us back to Ghana. And so that's kind of like my foundation was really I was 5 years old, went to London till I think I was 7, came back to Ghana, and then was there till 11. Then we came to America. And that was with a mix of being with my mom, my dad, all of that put together. So I did see kind of like that family structure. I have lived in Ghana and went to school in Ghana. So I kind of have that traditional Ghanaian experience up until elementary school. And then came to America. Actually, I was supposed to be in 7th grade in America, but ended up going back to 6th grade because I was a year ahead. In terms of age. So I was a year ahead. And so, that was kind of like my upbringing was really in Kumasi, Ghana, where that's where I learned Tree, I learned English, and lived kind of all of my elementary schooling down there.
And good. And so you did mention how you were trying to finagle your job into sending you to Ghana. So how long did it take? So you came here at age 11. When first did you visit Ghana since that age 11?
Yeah, so
how many years did it take?
2000. We came in 1997, and I didn't go back to Ghana till 2014. October of 2014, I believe, is when I first stepped foot again. And actually, sorry, I actually didn't. The first time I went back to Africa, I wasn't even Ghana. I went to South Africa. Was my first trip, and that was in 2014. And that was because of work. So I was able to go back because of work. And coincidentally, on that trip, I didn't even get to go to Ghana. I actually went to South Africa, went to like Zimbabwe, Kenya, all of East Africa and South Africa, and then came back to the U.S. And then my boss was like, "Hey, we have a thing in Nigeria." I was like, "Oh, you have your guys right here." I'm your guy. And so when he said that, I came to Ghana 2015. It was about 6 months later. Yeah, so 2015 is when I actually went back to Ghana for the first time so I was going to Nigeria but stopped in Ghana for a good 2 weeks before I continued on to Nigeria for work. And then went to other places and then came back to the US. But yeah, 2015 was the first time. So what is that?
You know, about 18 years. That's a long time to leave Ghana. And now, okay, let's talk about this because this is important. I want to mention this.
Yeah.
Ever since you started going to Ghana, how frequent have you been going to Ghana? Can you count in one hand how many times you've been back?
Ever since 2015, I'd say I've touched every year. I've been to Ghana at least once or twice a year for various reasons. Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. For various reasons, I can't wait to hear them. For various reasons, you've been going back that often after going away from Ghana for heading to 2 decades. Which is nuts by itself. So now you're connected to the motherland in too many different ways. How have you found your experience? Let's go back to 2015 when you went home for the first time, being away since age 11. What was the culture? What was the culture shock? You could speak the language already because your parents taught you and you have Ghanaian friends. But what was different for you?
You know what? So earlier I said that my dad was quite wealthy. I grew up in a wealthy background in terms of like travel, and we were able to go to London, go to stuff like that. And so when we moved here, though, it was not the case, right? I think that's a lot of diasporans face that, right? Your money's long in Ghana, but your money's not long in America by any far, right? So I always say it's so funny because when I was in Ghana, I remember being dropped off in school in a Benz, and then when I came to America, it's like I had to literally wait by the bus at 5 a.m., take a bus at 5 a.m. just to get to school across town, right? And it's a big culture shock. Now, when I went back to Ghana, it was almost like you felt you were at home, but you were not really. You are not like of home, right? Because about 18 years I had been in America, I had become Americanized. And so even when I would and the great thing is, I think for me personally, my personality, I kept in touch with a lot of people. Some very close to me and some that I wish I kept in touch with more. So like some of my best friends, I knew where they lived. They still lived in the same places. And we had kept in touch in terms of that. My cousins and I, very close. We still keep in touch to this day. So my main cousin that I had always been in touch with, he was the one that took me around, showed me, took me back to the old neighborhood and stuff like that. But I could always sense as soon as I would speak, they're like, "Oh, you're not Ghanaian," right? Because your accent, even the Twi that I speak is not the same, right? So when it's not the same as when you were there. So when you speak, people actually look at you like, "Hey," and being a little heavy set too, though. "Oh, you're the rich guy coming back. I gotta get money from you," type of thing, right? So for me, it was I thought I was, "Oh, I'm home. This is me." I'm "This is Nana, right? I'm back home.
This is Nana. I'm here."
Yeah. But to them, it's "No, you're a foreigner in a way, right? You're Ghanaian, but you're the big boss now. You have the money, and you're from America in that aspect." So people treat you with that kind of even at the airport. As soon as you get to the airport, they're treating you with that kind of expectancy as you're Ghanaian, but you're not really Ghanaian.
Yes.
But I think that quickly kind of went away in terms of as I started to be familiar with, "Oh, okay, this is the places I should go. This is the places and all of that." You start to kind of understand the locality of things, and it also made me want to keep coming back because in a way, I wanted to regain my Ghanaianness, right? I wanted to be no, this is really me. I'm not, I haven't changed.
I'm here again. I'm here. Yes.
Yeah. And so that was kind of the experience. The culture shock really was that kind of "Oh, you're Ghanaian, but you're but you're American Ghanaian. You're not actually really Ghanaian. You have an American passport now, and your accents changed and so forth. But that was really, I think I'd say, like, brief, and kind of like I almost was. I was lucky that I had traveled quite a bit.
Yes.
I think at that point I'd been to probably like 20 countries, and so
yes.
I understood, like, like how people would treat you outside, that you could become aware quickly to kind of like help change it or do whatever to mitigate it. But yeah, that was kind of like the first experience I had.
First experience after being away for 18 years, and then now from 2015 till now, going often. And
correct.
You're plugged in. You know home now. So you said, you regain your Ghanaian-ness.
Yeah.
So you regain your Ghanaian-ness. On top of that, like you said, for work and for various reasons, you've traveled Africa. You've traveled Africa. You've been to a lot of places. And that's why, this is a question that I wanted to ask, when I knew I was going to sit down with you. But I'm going to narrow it down to Ghana for now, right? In Ghana right now, you've met a lot of youth. You've met a lot of people that are professionals that have not left Ghana, right?
Correct.
What's the sentiment? How do you think people feel about leaving Ghana and going to the UK and the States, two countries that you know a lot? What's the conversation around people that have never left?
So I think all of Africa. I think all of Africa haven't been across. So let me preface by saying this. I've been to 40 countries in the world. I've been to 40 countries in the world, and I find that through my travels, people are generally all the same everywhere. Like if you go to China, the same things that like we're facing here, the media might not show you, but the Chinese are also facing the same. The Chinese want to leave and come to America, prosperous America, just as much as Ghanaians want to come to prosperous America, right? And so you find that people, wherever you're from, there's a certain kind of like curiosity that people want to see what else is out there. So I always have a kind of a battle internally because, as you know, I have a business that we help students study abroad. It's an education study abroad business. And so a lot of the time, the first thing people come up to, I want to leave Ghana. I want to get out of here. And I ask them, like, what is it for? Like, why do you want to go? Oh, because the country's not great. So when I talk to people like that, I'm trying to, like, it's almost like I understand them because truthfully, when you go to some parts of Ghana, and I've been to like very impoverished areas, it's like, man, I feel for you. Like you can get such a better experience of life elsewhere. I always say this, and I think it was like a social media, something I saw on social media where, when you go to Africa, you see people like selling stuff by the roadside, right?
Yes.
And there was this, I remember when I was, this was like, I think 2018 or something. I went to Ghana coincidentally with some of my colleagues from here. And, there was a girl selling peanuts by the roadside, and she felt she had dressed up. I was like, if this girl was in America today, like, what would she actually be doing? Would she still be selling peanuts, or would she be like an Instagram model, or something? Like, she had dressed up very nice, and like, and you find that it's really people are where it's our circumstances that kind of dictates like where we are. And so what I'm trying to say by that is that people generally are curious as to the life out there. They want to escape and see something different. I don't think everybody that comes to America or wants to leave America wants to live here. And once you come here, you quickly learn. Some of us quickly learn, like, no, I got to get back home, or find a way to get back home, or be connected back home, because everything here is not as rosy as it may seem on CNN and so things. So generally, I think like the typical Ghanaian is like, there are a lot of Ghanaians that I know that typically don't even care for America too, right? I have some friends that, like, if you gave them American visa passport, they'd be like, okay, I'll just come for 2 months and then go back home.
I don't want to live there.
Exactly. But the average Ghanaian that is kind of like, middle class, trying to make it work, knows and has heard so much about America that it's like, I want to leave and go and experience something better. And then they kind of make that distinction whether they want to come back or stay there.
I like the word you used. You said curiosity, and I wrote it down, where America the UK, I'll bundle them in one. You know,
Yeah.
their presence in the world, whether it's the media, whether it's what we consume, is one
Mm-hmm.
of you know, is one that sparks curiosity around the world. And I want to
Mm-hmm.
see it myself. I want to experience it. And I asked, and I said I narrowed it down to Ghana, but it's the same everywhere. Coming from Gambia, every time I go home, it's the same story. Actually,
Yeah.
I'll share a story. I came 2004.
Mm-hmm.
And when I came 2004, I went 4 years straight without going home, and was lucky to go home. I mean, lucky. I went home the first time because of a loss, right? My dad passed away, so I went for his 40 days. So when I went home, I went to see a friend of mine that was in the same class with me for 3 years in high school.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So we were in the same class for 3 years. He was sitting right behind me. So I went to see him. So we graduated. I left 4, 5, 6. So that was about 8 years since I last saw him. So when I left, this guy had gone through the track of, like, you know, taking IT classes, working in a cyber cafe, they used to call them, and then, you know, working for, I think, a shipping company, and then working for a bank, head of their networking and all that stuff for a bank within 8 years.
Correct.
So within that 8 years of not seeing him, I left, studied in Dakar, ended up in the US, where after 2 semesters, I didn't have the money to pay. I was out hustling my way back in. I was valet parking in the North End. You know, I was valet parking cars. That was my employment. That was how I was paying my rent, right? And so I was hustling that way, trying to still go to school. I didn't graduate yet. So here I am. I made it back. I went to see him. Here's what this guy got. By then he was married, had a daughter, was building a house. It was not done. He had a room and parlor at the corner, but was building a house already. I could see the foundation. You know, he's slowly building it. Was driving, had his little family, and life was good for that age. I admired him so much. I'm like, man, you know, if I stayed, is this what I was gonna get? Is it? That was the reverse for him.
Yes.
He was admiring me. I just came from America. He wants to go to America. He wanted to go to America. He's asking about questions about going to America. He was willing to leave all of that.
Yes.
So without even having that conversation about convincing him to stay, it gave me a lot of thought. Just our lives, 8 years after we left each other, where he was and where I was, all I accomplished was being in America. But as far as life and the progress that we were all trying to make, he was way ahead being home. But we could not see. He could not see where I was coming from, and I was confused by where he was trying to go. You know,
you're 100%. 100%. I think I have a mixture of friends that that I similar situation like yours, where, you know, I left them, I went back. Like some of my friends, one of my friends is a doctor. When I first went back, I connected with him. And Mike, man, I'm telling you, he picked me up and we're driving, and nobody, like, he's speeding. When the cops pull him over, hey doctor, how you doing? Give him a shake, drive off. And I'm like, man, what am I doing in the US? Like, what's going on here? And you know, we grew up together. Like, we grew up all together, but, you know, best of friends. And this is the lifestyle he's living. And he comes and goes back and forth to America all the time. And so, like, he does that all the time. And so for him, it's like, I don't need America, right? Then I have other friends who have very, like, nice businesses, build houses. One of my friends is like a real estate developer, but can't get a visa to come to America, and is always talking, man, I want to come, like, I want to do this. I'm like, yeah, but listen, when the lifestyle you're living there is far better than the one that you're gonna come get here, right? And it's even with some of, like, my parents' friends, I see, like, I know people who are teachers back home, kings, queens. They'll come here and then they're working, like, odd jobs and all this stuff, and I think to myself, like, why, you know, sometimes it's like it's a conflict, right? Like, why do you want to live this life here when I know you go back to Ghana, you're going to be kind of in the wealthy class. You're going to be kind of, like, have people catering to you and doing all these things. And that's where I think I call it, like, the immigrant dilemma, because it's like you can get a better life home, But
yes,
the gold per se, I hate using the word gold in America, but like the American dream is essentially keeping you here. You think you can make it, and you think you can become a millionaire one day and do so many things. And so it's tough to try to balance the two, and I think it's it's very tough. Very tough.
Yeah, this is why I want to pin this, as we've gone midway. So in thinking about this, I think what we're trying to actually, convey here is where now there was a time when that curiosity that you mentioned is one of, I gotta be there to see. So I don't know if we can accomplish anything in this conversation today. I don't know whether somebody out there listening can look at it as, hey, now I'm almost running out of that excuse of curiosity when I can actually do my research and see where in the world will be better for my situation right now, whatever that situation is at that moment.
Yes, correct.
Because there are a lot of people in Africa that will do way better being outside of Africa, being in America, and even valet parking, even flipping burgers, even like it will be a way better life than their situation. And there's people in Africa today that leaving their situation in Africa for the West is like reverse. It's like, don't even think about it. Don't do that. Assess your situation. And that brings a friend's aunt to mind. Like I went to a college with a friend where whose aunt was in Mass somewhere. When the friend came to visit, we went to see the aunt. We went there, and the aunt was a big-time lawyer at home, right? A big-time lawyer who got a green card.
Gotcha.
Green card lottery.
Yeah.
So big-time lawyer left Africa because they got the green card lottery. Came to the States where that law degree wouldn't translate, right? Like you're not a lawyer in America. You have to study again and do the bars, right? Like at that age, she didn't want to do that anymore. She was working at Starbucks, right? She was working at Starbucks selling coffee, right? So in that, like if you think about it like that, this is the example we are talking about. Assess your situation. You have a green card. It's prestigious. We know that.
Yep.
But your life as a lawyer making money in Africa will be better than coming to America where you can't use that degree and end up working selling coffee.
And Mike, I have to share this story. Through my work, I actually counseled an Ethiopian student. His cousin, I think, worked for the UN at the time, and they had told him, come to America. He's going to be great here. Blah blah blah. This guy came to us and said, "Hey, I want to study in America." Right? That was his thing. I want to study. I want to come here. I've done my undergraduate degree. So, very nice guy. Took liking to him. He would call me on WhatsApp all the time. I assisted him, helped him get admission into George Mason University at the time. Yeah. He got an offer. He got accepted. I think he got like a little bit of a scholarship. As soon as this guy arrived here, he disappeared. And it was I want to come study here. He disappeared. And didn't hear from him. So essentially, he didn't enroll into class. So
dropped out of his F1 visa.
Dropped out of his F1 visa. I was reaching back out to his agent, like, hey, like, what's going on? Can you have him? Because being an African, I knew what was up, right? I knew
you knew what was coming.
Exactly. And so when I had finally I think it was almost about a year later, he added me on LinkedIn. And I, because we had built kind of a rapport. So he added me on LinkedIn and just messaged him, hey, how you doing? What are you up to now? Oh, I'm valeting cars in DC. I was like, wait, what? And so this kid, talking about, comes from a wealthy family. He had just finished a degree. He was working at the bank or something like that. Doing quite well. Like, it was every time, talking to him, or I would go, he was actually Ethiopian but lived in Kenya. He was working for a banking company that his family had like a coffee business. So money was there, all that. Well, now you left your F1 visa. You're now illegal in America, and then you can't get paperwork anymore. So he was reaching back out to me to see if I could help him get back into school again. And I was like, well, unfortunately, your I-20 record is not going to be, it's not going to be clean because you've already you arrived and didn't show up. They're just going to send you right back. And I don't know where he is now, but it's like, that's one of the unfortunate situations, right? Like you're sitting there, you think America's this glorious place. His cousin had told him, "Hey, come, everything will be okay. Don't even worry about the school stuff," and you've just lost all of that. Whereas if you were home, you would have had a pretty good, life where you would be. We were jealous of you because we're like, oh, you want to come home and you have a chauffeur, all this stuff, and now you've lost all of that. So
and
yeah,
that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
It should be case by case. This curiosity should be case by case. Now we have access to data, information to assess our situations individually, whether it's here or at home.
Yep.
Bro, we are halfway. Can you believe this? We are halfway, and this is when I pause because we've been going like machines.
Yeah.
This is when I pause for this segment I call "Tell Me Something You Think I Don't Know." So
yes.
you're familiar with this. If I know it, I'll admit. If I don't know it, if I don't know it, I'll admit. If I know it, I'll tell you, man, go again, because I have some knowledge. Come on. Tell me something you think I don't know.
So one thing I think you don't know it's kind of recent is I'm trying to actually get into cosmetics, natural oils products coming from Ghana, and so so you don't know that. So
okay. So natural oils.
Yeah, so Ghana, Africa, we have a lot of our oils. Cosmetics comes from oil, right? So like shea butter, coconut oil, all these things, palm oil.
Yes.
All these are all natural products that we can use and then refine and become different products. And so a good friend of mine relocated back. He's working on actually has a product. I'm not sure if you guys have black soap in.
Yeah, we do. Black soap in Gambia, yeah.
Yep. So usually in Ghana, it's it's hardened. It's like a bar. They kind of So now we've made it into a liquid form. Mix it with shea butter, and it's soap that you can use to shower every day. And so I actually I was in Ghana last June. I was in Ghana just recent June. Brought some back, and so I'm trying to kind of like get it set up in the US and be able to sell it on like Amazon, Etsy, and all of that stuff. So
that's big time. That's big time.
It's we're trying to get there.
No. That's just the idea of it, the combination there. Like black African black soap is popular. Shea butter, and we all know it in that kind of like the texture.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So to put it in liquid form for shower. Yeah. I've never heard.
Yep. So it's we use it. There's a shower product that we have. We also have a shea butter mosquito repellent. So people don't know that shea butter actually is a mosquito repellent itself. People don't know that. See, look at that. These are things that Africans we have right in our backyards, but we don't know. So we've devised.
We have mosquitoes attacking us, and we live. Oh my God!
Yep. So there's a shea butter. So natural chemicals. We don't use any kind of like man-made chemicals or anything like that in it. It's all natural. There's also a face cleaner for women, that makeup remover that they can use. It also has shea butter in it as well. Yeah, so there's so many. I think it's a line of about 10 products.
That will help a lot of people, man.
Yeah. Wow, so we're trying to work on distribution and all of that.
Especially
hopefully.
Our women and their makeup removers.
Yep.
Yeah. This is perfect. This break we just took, where you went straight to business. This is where I want to go in this second part of our segment.
Yeah.